Hello everyone, welcome back to Ballistic Beacon. Breaking news this evening, Ukrainian unmanned aerial systems have struck what Ukrainian sources describe as a Russian weapons production facility, triggering a significant explosion and a sequence of events that the Kremlin says are under investigation. This bulletin provides a factual account of the reported strike, a verified timeline where possible, assessments of military significance, and analysis of likely strategic and operational effects. At approximately dawn local time, multiple drones reportedly entered territory held by Russian forces and targeted a facility identified by Kyiv as a site involved in the production and assembly of artillery munitions and advanced weapon components. Video and photographic material circulating on social media show a large conflagration, heavy smoke plumes, and secondary explosions consistent with stored munitions igniting. Independent confirmation of the exact facility name and full extent of damage remains limited at the time of reporting. Russian state channels acknowledged an incident at an industrial complex, but have described the event as an act of sabotage or terrorism rather than an overt military strike. They have released footage showing emergency services working to extinguish fires, and officials have stated that casualties and material losses are being assessed. Ukrainian military sources have characterized the operation as a targeted drone strike aimed at degrading the adversary's fighting capacity, specifying that the operation focused on logistics and weapons production nodes rather than populated urban areas. Timeline and sequence. Initial reports indicate the operation unfolded in several distinct phases. First, a wave of small, low-observable drones conducted reconnaissance, likely to map defenses and identify hard targets. This was followed by precision strikes by larger loitering munitions, or strike UAV, which appear to have engaged storage and production facilities. The final phase, according to analysts, involved strike weapons intended to cause secondary explosions within munitions depots, a tactic designed to multiply the destructive effect without requiring large payloads. Eyewitness footage shows the first blast followed by rapid successive detonations, a signature commonly associated with strikes on ammunition storage. Local authorities reported disruptions to utilities and road access in surrounding areas as emergency services responded. The speed and coordination evident in the footage suggests the attackers had high-quality, actionable intelligence and effective mission planning. Casualties and humanitarian picture at present. Casualty figures remain unconfirmed by independent sources. Russian regional authorities have reported a number of injuries among plant personnel and emergency responders, along with at least one reported fatality, although these figures are provisional and may be revised. There are currently no reliable reports of civilian casualties outside the industrial complex, but the proximity of workers' housing and support infrastructure raises the risk of further harm. Humanitarian agencies monitoring the situation have urged caution and called for access to assess needs for medical and logistical support. If confirmed, damage to a major industrial site could displace workers and strain regional services, particularly if supply lines or electrical infrastructure have been affected. Military significance. The strategic importance of a strike on a weapons production facility is multi-layered. First, the immediate effect is material attrition. Destroying finished weapons, components, and critical production capability directly reduces the adversary's ability to resupply frontline units. Second, such strikes can impose a time cost by forcing repairs, reallocation of production to less efficient sites, or procurement from third parties. Third, the psychological and operational impact may be disproportionate. Strikes on assets behind the front line compel the defender to allocate more resources to rear area protection, air defenses, convoy escorts, and hardened storage, thereby diluting combat power at the front. Fourth, successful precision strikes demonstrate reach and persistence in contested airspace, undermining the opponent's sense of rear area security and affecting morale. Analysis of weapons and tactics. Open source imagery and footage allow preliminary technical assessments. The operation appears to have employed a mix of small, commercially derived quadcopters for reconnaissance and modular loitering munitions or medium-sized strike UV for the kinetic effect. These systems offer low signature profiles and can be launched from dispersed, concealed sites to complicate detection and interdiction. The strike's apparent success hints at either gaps in the facility's layered air defense umbrella or the use of sophisticated countermeasures and tactics by the attackers, electronic warfare support, deception, or timing attacks to exploit shift changes or routine vulnerabilities. The use of munitions designed to initiate sympathetic detonations inside ammunition stores suggests a doctrinal emphasis on targeting value nodes rather than engaging in massed stand-off attacks. Defensive shortcomings and lessons for rear area security. If this strike is confirmed as a productive attack on a weapons factory, it exposes a set of defensive challenges. Traditional Soviet-era industrial sites are often expansive and not modernized to withstand asymmetric aerial threats. Hardened shelters, dispersed production, and redundant supply networks are measures that can mitigate such vulnerabilities, but they are costly and time-consuming to implement. Effective rear area defense requires integrated air defense networks that include short-range systems capable of engaging low, slow aerial threats, robust radar and electro-optical coverage, rapid reaction forces, and a doctrine that anticipates swarming and multi-vector attacks. The strike may prompt a re-evaluation of resource allocation by Russian commanders, forcing a choice between immediate countermeasures and sustaining offensive operations at the front. Operational and logistical ripple effects beyond the immediate physical damage. The strike may have broader logistical consequences. A temporary loss of production capacity could strain ammunition availability, potentially forcing field commanders to alter firing rates, conserve stockpiles, or reprioritize targets. For supply chains already stretched by sanctions and production bottlenecks, even a short-term disruption at a single node can cascade, affecting operational tempo across multiple sectors. Moreover, insurance and transport routes for military-relevant items may be further constrained. Private contractors and civilian suppliers may become reluctant to operate near conflict zones, increasing the cost and complexity of logistics. The net effect is that material losses at a factory can translate into operational constraints that extend well beyond the damaged site. Legal and political ramifications. Strikes on industrial facilities engaged in weapons production are central to contemporary debates on the legality of targeting dual-use infrastructure in conflict. Under international humanitarian law, while military objectives are legitimate targets, attacking objects that may cause disproportionate civilian harm or environmental damage requires strict proportionality assessments. The attacking party typically argues the facility's direct military contribution justifies the strike, whereas the defender emphasizes civilian occupations and collateral risks. Politically, the event is likely to harden positions on both sides. Kiev may present the attack as a legitimate and necessary measure to degrade an active threat. Moscow, in turn, is likely to characterize the action as a terrorist act or criminal sabotage, using it to rally domestic support and to justify intensified security measures. International responses will hinge on the availability of verified information and the political calculations of states with an interest in the conflict's trajectory. Potential escalatory dynamics. Any kinetic action against manufacturing assets carries the risk of escalation. The defender may respond with retaliatory strikes against logistics nodes, command and control centers, or even critical civilian infrastructure in a punitive move. There is also a risk of reciprocal operations targeting production facilities of the attacker, further entrenching a campaign of degradation. Commanders must weigh the military gains against the possibility of a spiral in hostilities. For state actors providing material or diplomatic support, such incidents complicate the calculus of assistance and risk management. Allies and partners may urge restraint, while hardliners on either side may press for stronger measures. Intelligence and attribution. The accuracy in attributing such strikes is crucial. Attribution rests on a combination of debris analysis, signals intelligence, trajectory data, and human intelligence. Both sides will seek to shape the narrative early, releasing selective imagery and statements. Independent verification by reputable open-source investigators and international monitors will be essential to establish a credible account of what occurred and who was responsible. In the absence of transparent, verifiable data, competing claims will dominate the information environment, with each party using the event for strategic messaging. Analysts should therefore approach early claims cautiously, awaiting corroboration from multiple, independent sources. Regional and international reactions expect immediate diplomatic activity. Regional powers and overseas partners will issue statements calling for de-escalation, investigations, or condemning the strike depending on their alignment and assessments. Some states may use the incident to justify sanctions or to accelerate defensive aid. Others will emphasize humanitarian concerns and the need to protect civilians and critical infrastructure. The event may also influence parliamentary debates and public opinion in countries supplying military assistance. Legislators will likely question whether supplied systems are being used in ways that align with stated policies and legal frameworks, prompting closer oversight. Economic and industrial implications beyond military considerations. Damage to a weapons factory can have economic ramifications. Local employment, supply contracts, and regional industrial ecosystems may suffer. Companies tied to production subcontractors, transport firms, and utilities can experience immediate revenue losses and long-term uncertainty. Reconstruction and relocation efforts would demand capital and time. For the attacker, achieving industrial disruption may produce strategic dividends, but also feed into a longer-term strategy of degrading the adversary's war-sustaining base, shifting the conflict's attrition dynamics. What comes next in the short term? We can expect the defender to tighten security measures, increase patrols, and potentially launch counter-operations to deter further strikes. Damage assessments and forensic analysis will proceed, and the information released in coming hours and days will shape international perceptions. For the attacker, such an operation signals capability and intent. If Kiev intends to continue targeting production and logistics nodes, this may become a recurring pattern designed to systematically degrade the adversary's industrial base while avoiding direct attacks on population centers. Concluding assessment, this reported drone strike on a Russian weapons facility represents a tactical success with operational and strategic implications. It highlights the increasing role of unmanned systems in contemporary warfare, the vulnerability of rear-area industrial sites, and the complex interplay between military objectives and political messaging. As always, definitive judgments must await independent verification and comprehensive assessments from credible sources. For now, the strike serves as a reminder that modern conflicts extend far beyond front lines, encompassing supply chains, industrial resilience, and the very infrastructure that sustains military operations. We will continue to monitor official statements, imagery verification, and expert assessments as they emerge. Stay with Ballistic Beacon for updates and in-depth analysis on how this event may reshape operational calculations on both sides. End of bulletin.